Well, this video is about 7 spiritual signs your ancestors are. Hi, I'm Elemi from Yeyeo Botanica. Welcome to your spiritual home. Have you ever wondered sometimes if your ancestors are around you? Are they with you all the time, talking to you, trying to get your attention? Well, this video is about 7 spiritual signs your ancestors are calling you. So let's get started. But first, I want to shout out all my people from Jamaica. Woohoo! Welcome. So let's get started. One of the reasons why I chose to do this video, and I also do many videos on the ancestors, is because we all have them. We all have ancestors, and they don't want to be forgotten, right? And they don't want us to forget who they are, because without them, we wouldn't be here. And I do a lot of ancestor work, a lot of tapping in with the ancestors, hearing their messages, listening to some of the beautiful blessings that they give their loved ones. And many times that as we grow in life and in the world, we kind of forget about our ancestors, right? They're not here anymore. I met a young man who is like 21 years old, and he says to me, "Oh, when people die, that's it. There's nothing else. Once they die, that's it." And I thought to myself, really? Is that really true? And it was so funny because his own grandfather was trying to get him to change his career, get his mind right, and to break some negative behavior that he had. And so even though he didn't think that the ancestors or anyone exists after death, they were definitely talking and giving him messages, and it was great to see him be influenced by that. So don't forget about your ancestors. Why? Because they haven't forgotten about you. And in this video, we're going to talk about some signs where they're actually trying to get your attention, and some signs to look for in your own life. We all have ancestors. Some people know about their ancestors and some people don't know about their ancestors. This video is really about people who are interested in tapping more into their ancestry, even if they don't necessarily know a whole lot of their ancestors. Sometimes we know 1 or 2, a grandparent, aunt, uncle, parent, maybe sibling. If you know 1 or 2 people that you feel may be around you or that you had some relationship with, good or bad relationship, they can always be trying to contact you, being around you, giving you messages, giving you help, giving you protection, giving you prosperity, all of these different things. But sometimes I think we just don't really realize that, even though many times we're doing things that our ancestors did. Tapping into whether or not it's your maternal or paternal side can be a little bit more difficult to put your finger on. So this video is really about focusing more on what are the signs and cues that an ancestor may be getting your attention and influencing you in some way. For those of you who love your ancestors and you want to give them something special, this is an Ancestor Candle from Spirit in You. Fantastic. This candle is so beautiful. It says it's for guidance, honor, and offering to the ancestors, and it has a prayer for them in addition to an area for you to make a special request. I love this candle. You should try it. One of the ways that I think is really valuable, especially in my own experience, is when there are dreams about ancestors, right? There may be dreams about these particular ancestors. They may be coming to you repetitively. It's usually 1 at a time, but some people may have many of them at a time. but you usually will only have one that is really having this one-on-one interaction with you in a dream, even if it's a lot of them, or one-on-one having a conversation with you or giving you something. So if you notice that this particular ancestor keeps coming up, definitely you need to be aware of that and very present to that. Maybe even journal about it, and or say a prayer. Hey, by the way, I noticed that you came to me in a dream. Is there something that's going on, something you want to tell me, share with me, bless me with, something like that, right? Then the next one that I think is really also very valuable, that I've heard many people talk about, is where all of a sudden they start doing things. This is the one that's so funny to me. Start doing things that they never did before, never really honed this skill before, or never really paid attention to this thing that much. Oftentimes this is a skill or an affinity that this particular ancestor had, and the person may find themselves kind of drawn to it. And one of them that's a really good example, I think, is old movies, right? Or certain types of movies, or certain types of music. Sometimes people notice, oh, you know, I've started to listen to this type of music, or they started sampling this particular artist, and I'm really into this sound these days, right? Or I'm really into these kinds of movies. Sometimes, again, these are the ancestors coming close to you and you being influenced by that. The other one that I really, really like also is when a person is having physical sensations, right? So this one is a little bit more in depth in that, let's say that someone transitioned, they always had like this bum shoulder, or they had this really strange way of carrying themselves. You may find that you may have these ailments starting to bother you. Sometimes it's not actually your physicality or your body, but something influencing you, and then after a while it just goes away. That's something to keep in mind around ancestors, because again, you're going to take some of these cues and put them together, not just one thing happening, right? And so I really think that when you get those chills, or like I said before, you have this pressure. Sometimes people feel pressure on different parts of the body, or they feel like something is pressing on them. Sometimes they have tingling in a particular area. Someone may say, well, that could be a spirit guide. Well, some spirit guides are ancestors, but that's all another conversation. And definitely comment below if you got some thoughts on ancestors versus spirit guides, or are they and not an or, right? Definitely comment below. I want to hear what you think about that. Another sign of ancestors that I particularly like is when I start seeing things that they used, right? Whether it be, if I would maybe, my senses, if you will, become very attuned to them. So maybe it is that I'm smelling some tobacco, or smelling certain perfumes, or seeing certain types of things that are very nostalgic, but very much tapped into the senses. Maybe I want to eat something in particular where I just find myself drawn to want to eating this thing over and over. Again, sometimes these are spiritual influences, again, from ancestors, that they're close, and it's time to like be more aware of their messages, or more aware in general, because they could be giving us cues. Another one that I really, really like personally in my own life is the names. Names. So I remember once I was thinking about things for my father, who was transitioned, and his name is Chester. And I would go different places, and I would see Chester Street. You know, something would be called Chester something. You know, I would see it on signs, different places. Animals, I meet someone and their cat is named Chester. I mean, it would just kept coming up over and over and over again. And that made me say, oh my goodness, he's really, really close, really around, and wanting his presence to be known. So that's one that I use for myself, and definitely I look for names, or I'm attuned to names, and I share that one with you. Really, really fantastic way to know that ancestors are around, because it's so obvious. Like, I like some things that are really obvious and in your face, where they're like, hello, I'm trying to get your attention. I'm not just showing you this once. I'm showing this to you repetitively, right? So I say to you also, definitely think about those moments that you have. And the other part that is connected to those moments are the feelings, right? Feelings that kind of come up within you. Some people have various ancestors that they were close to, but they were maybe very depressed. And if you're not a depressed person, and then you start finding that you're very depressed and feeling blue and feeling upset and things like that, oftentimes these are also signs of spirits that are around you that are influencing your emotions, right? Similarly so, if you're not a very fiery person or not overly aggressive, and all of a sudden you find yourself to be somewhat aggressive or a bit more bold and this and that, you know, these emotions coming up within you. Again, these can be influences from different ancestors being around. So remember, I said that in the beginning, this could be positive, in terms of these could have been positive ancestors, or they may not have been so positive. Either way, the point is that these are cues to see if, one, they're around, and then cues to investigate what it is that they need, because sometimes that is difficult within itself to figure out what they need. Sometimes they're just, I call it a drive-by, where they're just kind of like passing by, you know, in a dream, on the street, feeling them, being aware of them, and that's it. But other times it is that they're really focused on giving us a very, very important message, and we now need to become a bit more present to that, right? So we talked about the synchronicities, signs of how they are, what patterns we're seeing. You know, is it a name? Is it a scent? Is it a place? Something like that. We also talked about emotional waves, which those are really ones that I think many people don't even realize half the time is happening with ancestors or guides in general, but definitely ancestors. And then the other one that I actually like is that you feel drawn, right? Very, very drawn to researching more. Is there something else? Is there something else? Or you're drawn to a particular area. Oh, all of a sudden I want to go visit this place, right? Like I had for a long time, I had this thing within me where I wanted to go to Tennessee. And I'm like, what is in Tennessee? I mean, there are lots of things in Tennessee, but I couldn't figure out why I wanted to go. And then I figured out that it was really for a relative who had a very strong connection to Tennessee, and there were some things that needed to be resolved for them through going there. So I want to share with you, definitely look out for those signs. Be aware of them, especially if you're a person who has an ancestral space set up in your home. You're doing veneration, you're giving them offerings, prayers, upliftment. And even if you don't have an altar in your home, but you do tap into the ancestors, you do research your ancestors, you're very close to your family, and so on, ancestors again can still come to bless you, to nurture you, and to give you protection. So I hope you got some ideas in this video about how to look out for some of those signs that your ancestors are trying to contact you and are impressing on you with their influence. Definitely comment below. Remember to stay in the know. Hit that bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up if you got anything out of this video, and share in the comments. I love to read your comments and hear your sharings. And see you next time, and watch out for my next video where we talk about the Orishas and how to know which Orisha is for you, for those lovers of Orisha tradition. And see you next time. Ashe, ashe, ashe.